Congressman, well done. It is a great day to actually see Republicans in Congress do something effective and fight back just a little bit, just put their shoulder to the wheel just a bit. And now the panic in D.C. is like palpable. The screaming, the demonic shrieking of accountability, like just a little bit, just like the scintilla of accountability for criminals like Joe Biden it's been wonderful to catalog.
Yeah, it's frustrating it's taken this long, but I'm glad to see that the speaker's finally come around to an inquiry, because that gives us additional powers to go after, like you in the clip beforehand, Mr. Comer's going to go after the actual bank account information of Mr. Biden and Hunter Biden, and I think that will be elusive for all of that. And what you spoke about with the Grassley issue with these recordings, yeah, why haven't we? I haven't heard these recordings. Why hasn't the public heard these recordings? They obviously exist. Senator Grassley wouldn't go to the floor of the Senate and talk about them if they don't exist. Maybe the speaker heard those, and that's what's precipitated the inquiry. I think we've had plenty of evidence for an impeachment inquiry, which is why I filed my articles, I guess it's been a month or two ago now, specifically on bribery and corruption. You have not just the financial information and evidence to support the crimes that were committed, but you have corroborating witness testimony. You have Devin Archer saying that Joe was in these meetings. You have Bob Alinsky years ago when he was talking to Tucker that said that Joe was in these meetings. You have pictures. You have WhatsApp messages that you elicited. We have IRS whistleblowers that are testifying to all of this. You have corroborating witness testimony everywhere that this is exactly what was going on. And you could just talk about Ukraine and Burisma and Joe getting rid of that prosecutor. Just that alone is criminal activity and using his power to make money for his family.
I don't understand how that's not, I mean, on a legal basis, that's bribery.
Absolutely.
Right? So you don't have to have a check in your name. You simply have to be the beneficiary of the bribe, right? And so Joe Biden clearly benefited from doing this in Ukraine.
Well, and what's fascinating to me is this argument, and you did that clip with Goldman. The Democrats have transferred their arguments. First it was Hunter's laptop is Russian disinformation, right? Russian disinformation. We're going to get a bunch of intel officials that say it's Russian disinformation. And now it's we don't have direct evidence. Well, I can tell you this. If my brother got $5 million from a foreign entity because of a vote I took or because of action that I took as a member of Congress, that is bribery. That is corruption. I can be charged federally for a crime. So it doesn't really matter that you do or don't have, which it sounds like that's coming, but you do or don't have actual evidence of me taking the money, but my son took the money or my brother took the money for me to do specific acts as now president and then vice president. You've got problems. That violates federal law.
I want to ask you about the work on your committee, because Ways and Means have obviously been really the tip of the spear here when it comes to the Biden finances. What have you yourself personally seen that would lead to your support of this impeachment inquiry?
Well, the thing that was most offensive is the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI. So when the IRS whistleblowers came to us, they testified. And these are guys that have been with the IRS for like 14 years. One of them headed the investigation for Hunter and said that they were going to subpoena certain information, and the DOJ and FBI wouldn't let them use Hunter Biden's name. They wanted to do a search warrant on Biden's residence. The FBI and the DOJ wouldn't let them do it because it was actually Joe Biden's house that they wanted to do the search warrant on. So you have actually the obstruction of justice through the administration to try to protect Joe and Hunter from all of this. And these IRS whistleblowers were just following the evidence and doing their job. And the DOJ and the FBI were saying, nope, you can't do that. No, we're not going to let you do that completely, which is why they blew the whistle and came to Congress, thankfully, because that gave us a treasure trove of information of just how deep the corruption is in the FBI and the DOJ to try to protect the big guy.
So now there's an FBI agent that's coming out and saying, yeah, these whistleblowers are correct, corroborating their testimony. Can you give us an update on that, Congressman?
Yeah, and you've got CIA officials that are blowing the whistle on different things related to all these investigations.
Yes.
I think because once we got the majority, and thank God we got the majority, because the American people wouldn't know any of this if we wouldn't have gotten the majority. You're seeing more and more people come out and getting comfortable with coming out because they know that they're going to be attacked by the mainstream media. They know they're going to be attacked by Democrats and called liars. But if the facts and evidence are on your side, I think the IRS whistleblowers that came out first have started to give this impotence of these different FBI guys to come out and say, look, This is wrong. Crimes have been committed. I'm tired of trying to cover it up, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing when you have like a shred of morality, how a guilty conscience, you just can't live with it. You just can't move forward with it. And it boggles the mind that the argument from the other side of the aisle is that Joe Biden just loves his son too much. I know that you have children. I have children. This is not what you do if you love your children. You do not take your addict son and your degenerate son and put them in charge of unlimited fire hoses of money unaccountable from foreign powers. This is not what you do as a loving father. The argument actually betrays itself if you're just looking at it as a moral person.
Well, and strategically, obviously, they set this up this way for a purpose. They set up all these different LLCs for all the money to funnel into. Why? Why would you do that when these LLCs didn't actually do any business? They were set up specifically to take this money and then funnel the money out to the family members, all for these different corrupt schemes that they were doing in Ukraine, the Chinese Communist Party. Millions of dollars. We're not just talking about a few $1,000s, millions of dollars that the Biden family has received. And once we get some of this financial information that Hunter was paying for dad's whatever, or buying cars for him, or paying his mortgage payment, or whatever the case may be through his account, so to try to shield Joe Biden from what was going on. There's no other reason, just like using the pseudonyms for email and all, there's no other reason to do that unless you're attempting to hide exactly what you're doing.
Congressman, what kind of a night would you have? Your wife came home and found you using a bunch of pseudonyms on secret chats. Would that be a good night or a bad night for you?
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad night. It would be a bad month to bad year. And even if I had some like app on my phone, like what are the different WhatsApp or whatever, there'd be a lot of questions like, why do you need WhatsApp on your phone to talk to people? So that wouldn't be a pleasant, I would say not just night, that wouldn't be a pleasant month.
It's not what honest people do. It's not what honest people don't do these kind of things. Honest people are upfront, right? And you don't try and hide and obscure and lie. And that is precisely what is happening now. The other side of the aisle is saying there's no evidence. Can you please knock that bowling pin down for us? They say no evidence, no direct evidence, very legally written, like Jen Psaki's PR shop is working overtime, right? Like breaking their laptops. Okay, no direct evidence, okay? Can you please knock that bowling pin down for us once?
Well, and what they mean by that is we don't have right now, it sounds like this may be coming, but we don't have any direct evidence of like the money went from Ukraine or an oligarch in Russia to Joe Biden's bank account. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't violate the law. Like I said, if my son or my brother was taking millions of dollars from foreign governments for me to take official action on things, that's bribery and corruption, whether I took the money or not. And then you have the IRS whistleblowers who are saying that the DOJ and the FBI and what's funny is all of this came about because they were investigating an international porn ring. This is how this started. If you read the beginning of the IRS whistleblowers' testimony, they stumbled upon Hunter Biden because they were investigating an international porn ring, and there was all this money coming in from international sources, and suddenly they end up on Hunter Biden. It wasn't like they went after Hunter. They stumbled upon him in these other investigations, and then they started getting more information and more information. You have financial information that over $20 million has been received by LLCs owned by the Biden crime family. And we're soon to get evidence of where that money went after it went to the LLCs. You have official actions that Joe Biden took, not just as vice president, like getting rid of the prosecutor in Ukraine that was investigating Burisma, but you have things like, there's an oligarch in Russia, I can't remember her name right now, that gives $3 million to Hunter, and shortly thereafter has a dinner with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in Washington, D.C. She's obviously paying for access. There was payments and then actions that were taken. And you have corroborating witness testimony of Devin Archer, Bob Alinsky, all these different people that worked with Hunter Biden. And initially it was Joe Biden doesn't even have any knowledge of these business dealings. We now know that's false. We have pictures of the individuals with Joe Biden that Hunter Biden had associated with. I mean, it's just treasure troves of evidence. If you were a prosecutor, I was a JAG prosecutor for a little while. If you were a prosecutor, you have way more than you need to indict an individual on federal corruption charges.
Congressman, that's my final question for you is, will the Republicans actually indict? Meaning, like, will the Republicans botch this case? Now, of course, I don't need you to name any names or anything or, attack, but you call balls and strikes. And the thing that I'm the most nervous about is that Republicans are so bad at messaging, and they don't get on message, and they certainly don't like take the time to craft messages that people can understand. And so could you tell me, can you game theory this for me moving forward? What should we expect? What should we be looking out for? What would a successful prosecution look like here?
Well, we'll do this inquiry and get all this information that Mr. Comer just talked about in the clip that you saw of actual bank information from Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. I think that's going to lead us to having that direct evidence of payments. And whatever this phone call was that Grassley was referring to, that hasn't been made public. Where is that at? I think a lot of this will become public. Then they will move through the impeachment process, which will then go to the Judiciary Committee. And the Judiciary Committee will then start impeachment proceedings. And remember back to Bill Clinton, when they did impeachment proceedings on Bill Clinton, he testified, they deposed him. Once you open up that official inquiry, then you get to start asking Hunter and Joe these questions under oath with the evidence. And so I think it's convincing the American people that crimes have been committed. Here is the evidence. There's no other choice but to move forward on impeachment inquiry because a sitting president can't be charged with a crime. And it's our duty and obligation as members of Congress to do that. That's why I filed my articles of impeachment, because I think we have plenty of information and plenty of evidence to move forward on that.
How endemic it really listening to you talk. I know that you certainly are not a creature of Washington. You're certainly not some fossil on the bottom of some barnacleized boat there like some other members of Congress. You come with this fresh perspective. You live in the real world. You live in Florida. You like what I think is really on trial here is the economy of Washington, D.C., which is selling access to our United States government for money and for special favors. And that's been the currency of Washington, D.C. It's just Joe Biden happened to do it so sloppily that he's getting caught now. And so the demons are screaming because they're like, wait, please don't get rid of our honeypot. That's what it seems like to me.
Well, and what's even more fascinating is the likes of Merrick Garland as AG, the likes of Comey and all these individuals with the FBI and CIA that are willing to put their reputations and careers on the line to cover up all of this that was going on. So, like, why is that? Why, if you're the Attorney General of the United States, regardless of who appointed you, wouldn't you want to enforce the laws and ensure that the person at the highest level of government isn't corrupting the entire thing? I mean, that's why Trump run originally, is to drain the swamp. The swamp is clearly still alive and well up here, and we need more warriors like myself up here fighting against the corruption that is Washington, D.C.
Yes, that's precisely correct. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to go and support Congressman Stubbe. You go, here is his X account here. And also, obviously, the congressman has filed articles of impeachment against Joe Biden in the past and has been a true fighter for us. We're so proud of him in the state of Florida. Godspeed, Congressman.
Thanks. Good to see you.